Hi, good evening. So evening this time, usually it is in the morning, but today this time it's an evening because our speaker is from a different time zone. So this is the eighth iteration of our Cyber Jagrookta Diwas event that we've been organizing for the past few months. And today with us, we have Mr. Raj Kumar Singh. I'll just try to, introduce him briefly. I know I feel he doesn't probably require too much of an introduction, but still, as a person who's organizing the talk, it's my responsibility to start off the proceedings. So Raj Kumar Singh has been in the industry since 1994 and worked with startups and global players like TCS, Wipro, and IBM. He has led numerous medium as well as large scale IT and security projects catering to the entire security lifecycle. Raj is a certified information systems auditor as well as a certified information security manager with a PGDBA from ICFAI Business School and graduation in electrical engineering from NIT Allahabad. Raj and his India team has built 24/7 security operations centers for various customers in India, which includes RBI, NSDL, BSE, and leading public and private sector banks. He has also played vital role in establishing cyber range in IBM India. Currently, he's working as a security client executive industrial at IBM Security, Austin, Texas, United States of America. With whatever I have ranted for all this while, I'll now just hand over the podium to Raj. Raj, over to you.
Hey, thank you, Saurabh, and good evening, everyone. And I can say really fortunate to have this session. And although it was a short run, but yeah, love to do that. And as Saurabh mentioned, I can say I'm really fortunate to work in various domains of security, like which includes like network security, application security, data security, governance, risk compliance, and those kind of area. And before moving to USA, I was heading India and South Asia, where I got an opportunity to partner with RBI. We run their SOC 24/7. NSDL, there are two depositories in India. NSDL is one of the largest one. The other is CDSL, and everyone knows Bombay Stock Exchange, correct? So we run their SOC services, manage their network services. End of the day, we have to secure our customer environment and ensure that there is no breach and there is no impact. And all these are, you can say, mission critical client for India. Just imagine if RBI get compromised or NSDL or Bombay Stock Exchange, then what happened? So today I'm going to talk about cybersecurity in the age of disruption. And I'm sure like you guys, like next gen, you guys are more equipped with and you deal with this kind of things. But yeah, tell me and stop me wherever required. And I think we are good to start now. So brief, this is the agenda in terms of everyone knows what is happening in terms of disruption, working from home and all those we have been through from past 2-3 years. Okay, but still I will go back to 80s and 2004. These are long back. I think you guys may or may not be born that time, but yeah, this is what we used to do in 80s and 2004. Where hackers were good guys. Okay, so it was just like a hobby for us, where we do kind of a cracking and do some kind of a I think amateurs work. Okay, so it was like very joyful, and people used to do that kind of activity. And that time it was more of a brick and mortar, so there was no, you can say, there was no technology as such disruption. Everyone was connected and it was a physical machine, correct? So I remember my college days when I was learning Pascal, C++, and I used to do 8085 ALU programming and those kind of a thing. So those days are over now, but yeah, we still, we understand those basics. So this is 80s 2004, and moving to how times have changed, like 2005 and 10, like when the infrastructure, most of the customers started doing automation or started using IT and computers and all those things. So there where like cybercrime starts to take over, people found that, okay, there's something interesting, and people are moving to more of automation, and they can develop those kind of tools to get into those systems. So we got botnets, we got some kind of a sophistication, not a big one, because again, It was not something, everything was not in system. Okay, so we have a parallel system or manual system. So that point of the time, it was more focused on the network side. And that is the reason why you see people talk about firewall, IDS, IPS, but nobody was worried about what happened at application layer or what happened at data layer, because data was not so important for them at that point of the time. They want to get into the network, create a panic, create some kind of a disruption in their network services. So that was the intention. uh, then we move to the I can say today, yeah, to certain extent, but yeah. So hackers, or they move from network, being a network centric, they move on the application side and data side, okay, where actually the IP lies, correct? So now when we talk about, they are the real criminal gangs which are, do a nationwide attack. And we see, you hear those kind of a thing, whatever war is currently going on. I don't want to name it, but those are the stuff which is there, and people are getting into that and trying to get into try to get into their critical infrastructure, where it's oil and gas, power, electricity, and disturb those services. Okay, so most of the stuff we have captured here in terms of various types of DDoS attacks, and it's a cyber crime is a dedicated kind of those guys who are there. They have access to all kind of we talk about all AI tools or those tools. Those guys have equal access to that, and defenses are more moving from network application, more becoming data centric, because where there your crown jewels lie. So you can see a summary from floppy disk in '89 when we have AIDS Trojan in floppy disk, and now we are talking about WannaCry or ransomware, which is there. Okay, so it's more targeted attackers, and they are trying to extract real money. Okay, and if some of you guys have been exposed to any ransomware, you know what is the pain in ass is. Okay, so we will talk about that, how those kind of breaches happen. Okay, so with that, I'll move to the next slide. This is additional data points in terms of the proliferation of devices, whether it's IoT or you talk about like OT infrastructure or you talk about IT. Okay, gone those days where people used to just focus on the IT infrastructure. Nowadays, customers are more focused on their OT infrastructure. Like imagine electricity company running a SCADA system, and we all know that all the OEMs still run their system into end of life or end of support of those OS. Okay, so you will find that still some of those power company, they are still using Windows 95 without OSR, whatever those kind of a thing. So which can't be patched or which is end of life. So now focus is more on the OT side, and you see the size of the data which is growing here. Okay, so security breaches day by day are increasing. Those numbers are going up. So just to add here, like this is, and this is the change which is bound to happen. That's what happening. So I go back to my college day when I was blessed with my hairs in '90s, and now things have changed. Correct. So there are some changes. Whether I can say that changes are always there, whether it's your personal or whether it's any business. Okay. So but the challenge is that how you will identify those changes, whether those are known or unknown. If I have known that probably I lose my hair in '90s, then probably I should have done something about it, correct? So same here in organization also. If they know like this is something which is going to happen, or take an example of ransomware, or if they have not upgraded their system, so they are exposed to that risk. Okay, so it's good for as a security professional that at least I can say for next 10, 20 years, I can earn some money for my family and feed them, because I'm in right profession with consolidation or variabilization, cloud and all those things, working from home, perimeter get extended. I'm happy to see that, yeah, I am there to protect them and make some money. So with that, I move to the next slide. These are some of the trends or triggers uh, like changing risk and compliance requirement. Like we have in UK, you go CERC and see these are critical infrastructure protection compliance guideline. Then you talk about various innovation, smart devices, extended enterprise, people working from home. You talk about variabilization, cloud, managed services, and various other things. Consumerization, you talk about threat analytics. So these are the trends I can say. Some of them are known. Some of them are still known in terms of possible implication. So I can say, you see on the left hand side, those are the trends. Right hand side, you see the possible implication. Okay, so enterprise need to use regular antivirus update, develop and maintain secure system application, loss of traditional control, and all those things. So we know what are the possible trends, what are the possible implications. And with that, most of the companies are trying to deploy those tools and technology, train their people, and put those processes in place. With that, I'll move to the next slide. This is a kind of a residual matrix I try to put. On one side, I put the risk, and other side, mitigation. So whenever I look into any kind of a security breach, we try to put into a matrix where the risk is known, but we don't know mitigation. So mitigations are unknown. Okay, so we talk about various forms of threats or attack, APT, a typical behavior analysis, anomaly detection. Okay, so those kind of things easily, I can say there are various ways to do that mitigation, but to certain extent they are unknown. On the other side, you see, this is the green one is very easy one. Okay, we know the known risk, what is the known risk, and what is the known mitigation. So you have all those tools and technology, like you have a vulnerability management system in place. We have various tools for that. I'm not sure whether you guys knows or use that tool in any of your project. Then we have IDS, IPS, then we have a SIM technology, antivirus, and all those kind of a point solution. Okay. One thing we should know that, yes, this is an ongoing, I mean to say, if you have a vulnerability management system, doesn't mean that you are protected and secure. Okay. So whenever you run a scan, you need to ensure that those identified vulnerabilities are being patched or remediated. Okay, so we all know that WannaCry, because of Microsoft, there are certain vulnerabilities. Because of that, most of the customer got exposed to WannaCry, correct? So which was a non-PTI attack. I was working for one of the customer where we try to deploy a kind of a vaccine. So whenever WannaCry attack happened, there is a certain extension of file which which encrypted file they develop. Okay, so and they put into the local file system. So what we did, I was in India for one of the global customer. We created that file and started a kind of a kill switch, or you can say a vaccine on each server. So whenever this particular malware goes and scan that, it's find that, okay, there is a file called DAT or whatever it is. Okay, so and then after that, it comes back. It was so PERFC, what that was the extension perf. Okay, so once that C in that target system that file is there, it will not encrypt those local files. Okay, so we did those kind of a mitigation there. So I can say that they may fall under one of the area of this. Okay. Similarly, unknown risk, known mitigation, like fuzzing. I don't know whether you guys use that, but it's a quite popular way to change the input. And whenever you have to do any software testing, you use those kind of. And then we have a deep correlation, those kind of tools, which can be part of any SIM technology and those tools. These are the always challenging area. No unknown risk, unknown mitigation. And particularly we have seen in when COVID started coming up, most of the customers were never done risk analysis of their environment. They don't know what is their crown jewel, what need to be protected. So for them, the challenge was those risks. Okay, and there are various tools and technologies to mitigate or have those controls in place. Nobody expected that all of a sudden people will be start working from their 60-70% of their workforce will move to remote. Okay, so they started looking into those options, and then you see a kind of a exponential growth of all this company which provides endpoint solutions. So this is something which we focus. The focus here is risk. Okay, there are various tools and technologies which are there, and any risk can be mitigated not only from technology perspective, but you can train your people also. Don't click on this link. Okay, so a kind of a security training is important. You can implement those processes also at your end. So with that, I'll move to the next one. This slides add to what are those ability to limits our ability to identify those risk, unknown risk. Okay, and the reason you can see that there are the pattern of attacks are very dynamic still, which are there. Okay, so and those are not signature based, 0-day attacks. So how you identify it? So my antivirus doesn't know that this machine is infected by this virus. Okay, so they look into various other ways and means. Okay, so certain anomaly tool, nowadays new tools are there which are AI based, which are non-signature based. But yeah, still it is debatable which is 100% secure. Lack of context, yes, you have to see that. Okay, any trends, do a trend analysis and contextualize based on your environment. So that is equally important. Big data and all those things we talk about, filtering out noise. Okay, this is the biggest thing. People deploy those tools and technologies, but they get lot of notification and those kind of things. There will be too many alerts which will be generated. Okay, that may not be meaningful for them. So how to prioritize, how to take out, extract those critical one. Okay, so various company like my employer has also developed Watson and those kind of tools which filter out those data and make the job easier for I mean to say the person L2 or L3, what we call it, those security analysts to focus on those area. Okay, so there are various tools which are there which will, again, it's based on your environment, how the environment look like. For example, if you are using your Windows environment and there is a vulnerability for Linux or vice versa. Okay, so you have to contextualize and filter those noises which are meaningful for you, and then you can work on mitigating those risks. Way forward, yes, convergence. We talk about IT. Yes, IT is important, but nowadays your business run on OT, what we call it, operational environment, like electricity company, SCADA, or any mobile telecom company, their billing system or their network switches and those kind of things. So the core infrastructure is what is critical concern for everyone. Some places we see a conversion of business and IT, but yeah, the IT guys, what they call it, they are white collar guys, and blue and business are blue collar guys, and there are a lot of gaps in that, various reason. So some places they agree, okay, so we will have a same security operation center taking care of business as well as IT, look into the logs which is being generated by any IoT or OT devices. Some places they run that. Okay, so it depends like how they are going to do that. Unified services, actionable intelligence, and these are convergence related where we talk about. Okay, with that, this is a typical model. Okay, now let me just jump into some real world events. Okay, Saurabh ji, just let me know if you can hear or see this video.
I can see. Let me see. If I don't think I can hear anything as of now.
Let me.
Yeah, we can't hear. We can see, but we can't hear.
Okay, let me then. So let me voice over in that case, Saurabh, if it's
Sure.
fine with all of you guys. Okay, so you can see a typical a kind of a traffic system. Okay, so this is one of the example of New York City, the business capital, where you can see the entire traffic system, how it is getting hacked. And then later we will talk about that, how this has been unhacked. I mean to say, how they have done the root cause analysis and they have identified that how someone, some end user machine got hacked, and when he was having coffee in one of the coffee place. So this is, he's the guy who is the kind of a, yeah, heading this air traffic, you can say, the transportation system. And you can see he's carrying an iPad here.
What's going on? Check them out. Function. Green 4 ways, open and broad. Wait, what?
So they found some kind of anomaly here, and they are just talking about like what happened.
Green's all up and down broad, now up Liberty.
Looks like there's been a breach in our central server. Someone's taking control.
Accidental wall. EMS rerouted. This is not happening. How is this possible?
Accident on William.
Right, they're creating a perimeter.
Notify the Cyber Security Task Force now.
Just did. They're detecting a rogue piece of software in our security system. They're tracking it down now.
How long?
They need time.
It's gonna take hours to clear these intersections.
The financial district. They blocked it off.
John, it's Cyber Security Task Force. They're saying the leak was traced back to your tablet. Your tablet.
No. How could that be? How?
We can hear the sound now, Raj.
We can email you our daily specials if you'd like. We just need your name and email.
Yeah, sure. John, John, Rapahama, Rapahama. Email john@trafficcontrol.com.
So he's sharing his email address.
All right, we'll call your order when it's ready.
Thank you.
Hi, can I get a large Honduran for here, please?
Yes, of course.
John, more intersections are being targeted. The gridlock's centering on the Fed Bank.
Yes, sir. Yes, we are. We anticipate being back online in 20 minutes. Will you be back in full control? Yes, I realize that, sir. I realize that, yes. Yes, we will. Yes, we will, absolutely. How could we have prevented this?
So now it's showing the unhacked part. So he's going back what happened. And then you can see that when he was ordering coffee, he got an email and those kind of stuff. So
Jeanette, can you connect me to Stephen in IT? Thanks.
Stephen here.
Stephen, this is John. My tablet just registered a UEM alert and shut itself down. Did you pick up anything on that?
Your tablet was compromised by an email phishing scam. Our mobile threat management software identified the malware intrusion and wiped your tablet clean of all company data. Our real-time incident response system also found an intrusion in one of our central servers. The non-compliant server has been automatically quarantined and immediate remediation action is being taken to get back to full compliance.
That's a good thing. No need for any unpleasant events this morning. Great, thanks.
Yep, no problem.
So I'm not sure whether you guys are able to track it because there was an audio issue. But yeah, what it was showing that he's the guy whose iPad, he used iPad which connects to their network. And he was one of the, you can say, victim of email phishing act where he shared his email address and that lady went to his social site or LinkedIn and verified, okay, he's the right guy. And he has published his information also on the social platform that he's so and so. And so she did the validation and after that she sent a mail. He was expecting a mail coming from that coffee shop. Okay, he thought, oh, there is some bill or invoice, and he clicked on that. And after that, his device was infected by malware. And after that, you can see the complete NY city traffic was jammed. And just imagine like any of the city in India, Bangalore, India, or Mumbai. Okay, if you the traffic is jammed and somewhere take care of entire signaling system. Although India is a bless where we have all the people who just overrule those systems. Okay. But yeah, so that is a small kind of a story. Okay. So what it needs, okay, in terms of like, definitely you need a new approach to security. Okay. So IT security is more of a boardroom discussion, and you can say pain area for CEO, CFO, CIO, or HR guy or chief marketing guys. Okay, so everyone now talks about security. Security is no more just a IT decision; it's more of a business decision. So, and then, and reasons are very clear, like various attacks which are happening in past, which has happened, as well as you see let me start with this oil company, which was 30,000 computer, Saudi Aramco, which was impacted by that. And the financial, there is bank. And every day, I think we hear a lot of story in terms of what the losses which are there. So this is what we see in our customer place. Like earlier, the implementation was more reactive. And nowadays, we are talking about making it more proactive. To make it proactive, you need to have those enabling tools in place, which is more of like a forecasting tool, whether you bring those AI tools, Watson and various other tools which we use for our customer, and help them to identify those proactively, those kind of threats which are there. Okay, so no dependencies on signature based or those tools which were traditional tools. We have to move forward. We have to proactively work on that. And that is the reason why you see nowadays threat hunters are more popular rather than the security architects, because threat hunter proactively identified those kind of a risk or those kind of a IOCs which is going to impact their environment. So, and they focus on the threat modeling and those kind of areas, and those we will talk about those kind of a skills which are coming in the market. We don't need a just a guy who do a tool or SOC monitoring, just sitting on in SOC and doing tracking what kind of events are generated. If somebody is trying to log in 3 times or 4 times, then what is the alerts which get generated? So we do those kind, those are more of a traditional, but now it is more risk based, more proactive driven, and more risk focused. Okay, so you talk about like traditional risk management system, but we further go in terms of risk matrices, risk indicators, and I can go further. This is a type of a very high level framework, not going much into these details, but whenever we go for any SOC implementation, whether we have done in India or outside India, we look into this kind of a framework, or we do this kind of a mapping. Bottom layer, you can see all this technology layer. After that, you can see this are the, again, the more on the monitoring side. And there are various platforms or alerts and notification platforms which are there. You get a very detailed view in terms of assets, which are the assets which are being exposed to what kind of a risk. So you understand that where are your crown jewel and which need to be protected or prioritized. You look into the compliance view in terms of various compliance requirements which are there, and more on the critical infrastructure, you CERC, IP, or Department of Home. There are various compliance requirement, and that is a growing list. Okay, so then further based on that, this is what a typical kind of a SOC model which we follow at most of the customer places. Right hand side, you can see this is a corporate operation, which is the IT infrastructure. We look into various components here. The key focus nowadays is on the OT side. I can say this is, okay, so OT is again the typical electricity company, their SCADA system, or water and utility company, their distribution system, what they are using. So those are the key, or you can say crown jewel, which need to be protected. So, and then bottom line, you see various tools and technologies, various players like my employer, as well as there are various companies so who have those kind of a tools, those kind of a system which are being developed. And then you can look into the monitoring part, how it happened, and overall kind of a command center, what we do. So far so good. I'm just checking the time. We have another, I believe, 20 minutes. So
hi Raj. So can I ask you a question? I mean,
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, hi, this is Charan from IIT Kanpur. So I just saw this SOC architecture that you were discussing about. So I was basically working on this advanced persistent threats. So I just want to know your from your experience that, how good is this, SOC, real-time SOC in various, enterprise SOCs are there, and how good is this SOCs in terms of, identifying the persistent attacks which stays inside the inside the victim network for a long time undetected. So do you have anything to add on this point, or I just want to know from your experience?
Yeah, good, Kiran. So APT is one form of attack which are there, and we have to identify those threat actors. Okay, so there are various tools which are there which can identify those APT, those kind of a prolonged and targeted cyber attacks. Okay, so where intruder gain access, there are anomaly tools which are there. Okay, but the question mainly lies with how you have implemented that tool. Okay, so when you do a kind of initial configuration of any of the zero-day vulnerability tool, is do anomaly based or it can be a signature based, correct? So you have to see that how the configuration of those tools are being done, and various tools vendors are there, like Cisco is there, and even IBM also have those kind of a tools which we track those kind of attack. Okay, so I can talk about that. APT itself is a one of the big area where people try to get unauthorized access to the environment, and they execute, I mean to say, launch those malware. Okay, so that can be done, but again, it's a relative term, how it is being configured and implemented. Hope it answer your question, which is very open-ended, but I can go to that further details and show you that how those particular APT, same tool being deployed at enterprise, one customer and other customer, it failed to detect and report.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. A typical, like your day, like one of the customer I've seen, like start with where a utility company faces network latencies, suspicious traffic being done. Okay, you can correlate with any unauthorized intruder or access also here, who got, somebody got access in the environment and started sending some network packet outside the environment, which is beyond a certain threshold, correct? So he started looking into that, and then they found that somebody is inside or some malware is there, correct? So this is a typical attack which we have seen. Just to keep the time check, I will just jump into one of the, I can say, a demo. Okay, so this is a 5-stage attack chain where any intruder will break in, latch on, expand, gather, and exfiltrate. Okay, and there are various ways when we talk about the break-in or we do a recon. And common methods are like social and phishing, which is very popular nowadays. We can talk about that, and I will tell you like how popular it is getting. Then we talk about password and configuration, which is more on the endpoint side, those SQL or buffer overflow and those kind of attacks which are there. Social media, yes. Okay, let me, yeah, everyone is there on LinkedIn and other places. I know Saurabh is there, Kiran, you are there. I can see your profile, what you do in a company. Okay, if you are a DBA or you are a network administrator or SIM administrator or SOC manager, and both based on that, I can do a targeted those kind of launch those kind of attacks. Okay, a typical example, like people are very emotional. Okay, somebody creates Meet Freddy. Okay, and this is what we have seen. Even Sophos has done long back. Okay, so within a 2 weeks, this guy made 87 friends. 40% of them those approached. Okay, so what information they captured here? 72% divulged one or more email address to that Freddy, and then date of birth. You see educational workplace. So I have done initial profiling of those probably targeted people whom I want to do. So I have their email address, date of birth, and those kind of information. Then I further go into launch those phishing and spear phishing, like that guy, the traffic controller supervisor, he got an email. Okay, and that lady was there. So, and that guy clicked on that email, correct, with a malicious attachment, something was there. Okay, so that's what, once you click there, then something get deployed on your endpoint device. And it's very easy. Okay, malware, you need not write any code or write any payloads. All these are You can see a shopping list, exploits kits which are there, and this is a further growing. You go and pay some money, okay? And these guys are very smart, okay? So they ensure that this particular malware, whatever you buy from and you pay higher price, they will say, oh, this particular exploits can't be detected by traditional antivirus tool because their signature is not updated, whatever reason. So they create those kind of a worms or give it to you, which is fast as possible in terms of detection by any of the security tool. Then you talk about this. These are typical exploits as a service also, like when you talk about cloud as a service, application as a service, infra as a service. So exploit as a service is also there. You pay rental fees, you take those tools, okay, and load those Java or PDF or IE exploits and those JavaScripts. A typical malware attack I can show you, if you can hear.
Our attacker is attempting to gain access to a company's systems by sending one of their employees a fake PDF containing malware. They have a listener running on their system to catch the incoming connection. The user opens the PDF file. Nothing seems to happen. In the background, the user's system has opened a connection to the attacker's system. This gives them administrator access. The attacker instructs the interpreter session to start running a keylogger on the victim's machine. Our attacker's target tries to map a network drive on another system. The attacker checks the keyboard logs for information. They find an administrator password for the remote system. Finally, the attacker opens a shell on the user's machine, giving them full control.
So this is what I was talking about, like you have those infected PDF and then you can launch this attack and you can compromise that end user system.
Raj, your voice is slightly like low volume. Maybe the mic changes could have made it possible.
Okay. Let me come closer to that. Thanks, Saurav, for pointing out. Yeah. So I can also show you the other demo where how you can
Our attacker has found a system with the administrator password set to password. Using the freeware fgdump tool, they connect to the remote system and retrieve the encrypted password hashes. These hashes are loaded into the offcrack tool and default accounts are removed. The cracking starts.
Yeah, so what I mean to say that there are various tools which are there which can easily, like if you take out those hashes and do a kind of again, it's a matter of factorization. People talk about they use 1024 bit or 2048 bit to encrypt out this data. So we can still compromise those keys, whether it's asymmetric keys. Just do a factorization of 2 to the power 1024 primary key and private key to 2 to the power 1024.
As you can see, a number of quite complex passwords have already been cracked.
That's what we are doing. We are taking a hashing, and with that hash, we are trying to crack those passwords. Similarly, where we talk about like patching, like most of the places, like patching is not being done properly, and that is a kind of a vulnerabilities which are open. And
the attacker is attempting to compromise a system with down-level patches for Windows.
So any of you guys use Metasploits, or have you used that?
The system was discovered to be vulnerable to a stack corruption exploit. This was patched in MS-08067. The attacker is using the Metasploit framework to exploit this issue.
So I think you guys can see all this kind of a tools, Metasploits, which will try to find out which are those machines which are being not patched, or those patching has not been done.
The exploit was successful. The attacker has a session on the machine with system level permissions.
Okay, so with that, I'll move to, there are various threats we talked about, various forms of attack. I'm sure you guys will be studying SQL injection, buffer overflow, and all those OWASP kind of attacks for web applications. Okay, so this is one of the a real example case I can say, where one of the banking client was attacked. Okay, and our ERS team helped them to recover the data. So it went with attacker compromises system administrator device through spear phishing attack, which we have already seen that there are various tools which are there. Okay, after that, attacker uses compromised credentials of admin and access the antivirus update servers, upload malicious AV update package on the AV side, which get pushed to those all workstation. And maybe if servers are also connected to that will get pushed. And they compromise those workstation, acquire additional login credentials and log in into the servers, network, or end user machines. And they executed those malware packages across all those environment, infected devices, overwriting hard drives, encrypting those, and all those kind of the things, or removing those. And then after that, ATM devices went offline, and all web access to the victim companies like online banking, everything was not there. So it happened. It's just a day job. It happened, and after that, yes, our team worked on that. If you have a backup in place, you can do that, recover those. If you then our team also did kind of analysis what kind of ransomware they have used, because some of the ransomware we can come I mean to say, using the factorization, we can recover those keys also and then recover the data. Okay, but again, you need those computing devices to do that. Give an example of 2 to the power 1024 bit, a public or private key, and then you do a matching with those kind of stuff. So this is one scenario which we have seen and experienced. And yes, I'm sure those guys who planning to get into security, I think there is a lot of demands. I can at least assure you that for next 20 years or 30 years, till the time all this CSP vendors are there and all these things are happening, your job is more secure and you can earn good money. Okay, so this is something learning or takeaways for all employees. I'm sure IIT Dhanbad will have certain do and don'ts. Every organization, whether it's educational institution, they will have a security policies and they enforce. And as a students and those guys who love security, they will definitely challenge. Okay, so there may be a black hat or white hat there in campus. I used to do that in our colleges, but yeah, sometimes we have to worried about those norms. Okay, so with that, I think I can close this discussion and open the floor. Another 5 minutes to go. Yeah, over to you, Saurabh.
Thanks a lot, Raj. Any questions from the audience? It was a really nice talk with lots of visuals, as well as the knowledge and the wisdom that you've acquired over a lot of with a lot of hard work, I would say. So any questions?
Oh, hi again. I have few questions. So, Raj sir, I just curious. So, let's say in the typical threat modeling, we come up with all the possible scenarios where the enterprise network can get compromised, and I mean, I was going through series of recent because of my research, I was going through a series of APT reports that are published by Mandiant and various other security firms, and I see there is a constant exploitation of the devices like endpoint cameras and open, I mean, DVR IP cameras, or they might try to plug in some vulnerabilities at the kernel drivers levels, etc. So I see every time that these sophisticated attacks are coming up with the tactics, the TTPs that are very novel for the security community to defend their network. So what is your take on this thing? So have you ever figured out this kind of stuff, and have you in your experience, have you faced any of this kind of attacks, or can you throw some light on that kind of attack and how you face those things and how you solve these things?
Yeah, very valid question, and I will tell you some real example. Okay, I don't want to name my previous employer, but it is like again India Passport Seva. Okay, and what happened when you pick up that? I was there during that time, so we got the deal and we signed the contract, and announcement was made that this system will went live by so and so date. So yes, functional requirement, everybody was excited, let's do the development part, and they overlooked into this critical area of security when we talk about threat modeling, because when we do initial design, you have to consider all those things, correct? So whether you follow a Microsoft slide or any framework, that is different thing, but the functional guys, they have to, and the business guys will say, no, we have to go and launch this application. Then later on, when we met customer, okay, so don't know. In our RFP, we have mentioned this point that this software has to be audited, security audited by STQC. So you know what has happened. Okay, so we developed two versions of software. One was with following all the security best practices, where we have implemented a kind of a threat modeling and followed all those specific security use cases. And other software what we developed, which was more functionality driven. I'm not saying that it was insecure. If it would have been insecure, probably you see the system which is already live and all citizens are happy with that. Right? So we developed that tool, and we had a plan that when we are going to transition that tool. Okay, so this is a real example where we have seen that because of business, people go ahead. But of late, what we are seeing that the security guys are being invited as part of like C-level discussion. Earlier, the security guy, they will say, oh, this guy will go, and what he will do, he's application security guys. Okay, he will run a code scan and provide some report. Then it goes to somebody. Correct? So those days are gone. And moreover, now there is, as such, you see the DevSecOps or whatever we are talking about nowadays, all those things are already there, well in place. So yes, coming to your question, we have seen that threat modeling and those kind of activity nobody followed, and then nowadays security guys are part of the initial design phase. And talking about like the threat hunter and those kind of guys, earlier I think 10 years back nobody used to talk about them. Okay, that oh, what this guy will do, threat hunter? Why should I pay this money to him? If I have a SOC L2 and L3 guy who is sitting on that and monitoring my network and providing those reports, okay, or whatever alerts generated or triggers, and looking into that, why should I hire that? But now threat hunters are paid more than 2 or 3 times of what a SecOps guys get, correct? So there is a drastic shift, you can say, because being reactive to proactive. When I say proactive, the people get involved in the initial design phase, part of being threat modeling when we are putting those use cases or functional design. And now proactively identifying those TTPs or are looking into IOCs and looking into their environment and various forms of attacks. there are a lot of recognition of those skills, but we have a lot of don't have enough people in that area. Even in US also, we have a big scarcity of that people who have that blend or that aptitude or that orientation to look into that kind of activity. So again, it's a generic response, but yeah, I gave you one of the example. Similarly, there are a lot of examples which are there, which are business driven. People overlook into the security requirement, and later on they realize, oh no, it's important for us, and then started following that.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you,
Thank
Raj.
you.
Thank you, Charan. Any other queries? Okay, so then I would like to conclude this session, and I do that by thanking Raj. Thanks a lot for sparing us time in the early morning. I know it's so hard to get up in the morning, and still you spared some time for us, and you gave us some real nice pointers. And thank you everyone who joined us. I know it's slightly late here. Usually we don't sit for that long in the offices, but it's really great that you guys joined us. So thanks a lot everyone whomsoever joined, and we do plan to put this content on the YouTube channel of IITISM Dhanbad. And I just hope that you guys will join us again in the next iteration of this event. Thanks a lot, Raj. Thank you everyone whomsoever joined. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Thank you everyone. Yeah, have a good one. Bye. Cheers.